Perfect.
And just by way of background, I've known Melanie for well over 5 years now. We worked together to help manage the Citrix Customer Advisory Board. So we asked Melanie to share her insights to really lay the foundation for CABs, especially for folks that are relatively new to the concept.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Gavin, for having me.
Yeah.
And does it all look good on your end so we can get started?
Good to
Perfect.
go.
Alrighty. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Melanie Gomez, and I'm at my best when I get to connect and understand people. So today I'll be sharing the importance of customer advisory boards and how to build the business case. But first, I just wanted to share a little bit about my journey, right? How did I got to this position and so on. So I started with Citrix back in 2014. So when I was applying for the position, it was a customer advocacy coordinator, which sounded really interesting. Again, it was working with content, reference, and a little bit of traveling. This was back in 2014. So the concept of open workspace, complimentary snack, relaxation room were all new to me, right? I had never seen something quite like that, just at Google, of course, but not 23 minutes away from my home. So even if it was a contractor position for 3 months, that experience, that's all that I needed to know that that's where I wanted to be. So I got the job, and a few years later, I am leading the Global Customer Advisory Board for Citrix. So a little bit of just research that we've done, right? ISMA have done one last year that they show that the top marketing spending is around engagement and advocacy. So we're good about CABs, right? Another research done to 400 senior executives around the world, asking them how have they interacted with vendors lately, show 28% of the customers have attended a virtual CAB, and 15 of them have attended an in-person one. So I can agree that all of us that are here today know that CABs are important, right? And that our executives are able to hear directly from our customers. And for me is also, I want to create that experience for my members, right? That they want to have the experience that I had, to be part of this VIP club, if you want to call it, this community that I'm building for them. So today I'm just going to share things that have worked for me, what my program is currently going under. And again, you know your customers better than I do. So this doesn't have to be the final template for you, but hopefully it will spark something in you. So the starting point. Again, I've been managing the program. It's going to be 9 years this year. I used to handle more the logistic aspect, but now I handle that plus the agenda, plus and plus everything. So this slide, it was helpful for me when explaining how to start a CAB, right? But it's even helpful for me right now with the changes that are happening in my company, right? A merger / layoff / change of teams. So it is important for my team to understand the facts about the program. So that's why I want to go a little bit in detail about that. The stakeholders and the budgets, right? Who cares about this program and how many funds do we have for this? Before, this program used to sit with our chief marketing officer. Right now, it's with our general manager for Citrix. And the teams that benefit from this are sales, marketing, and product. So I make sure that all of them know this meeting is happening and that I let them know any follow-ups or action items. Then the budget, right? How much can I spend on this meeting? You need to decide if you want to do it in person or virtual, right? For my in-persons, we're talking about 2.5 days, reception, full day meeting, dinner, half day, and then departures. For 12 members in attendance plus 12 session leaders from Citrix, that will cost you around $100,000 to $130,000. Again, it depends on your location and what items you're including in your meeting, right? For example, I do not pay for flights, but I know other people do that for their CABs. And virtually, again, it depends if you're doing a networking experience, if you want to send them something in advance, right? So you just have to decide what's your budget and what you want to go for. The guidelines. I think that this is really an important document that I have, and I share it, internally, but also externally, like an FAQ, right, about the program, what it is, what are you expecting from the members? Can they send delegate? How many times are you meeting? Do they need to sign an NDA, and so on? Like, the more details you include in this, the better, because you can leverage in explaining what your program is and what is not. And that way, the customers that want to be part of this program are really, really in it 100%. And then the timeline and the recruitment, right? For us, our main in-person meetings are Q1 and Q4. Then in between, we have webinars, tech previews, and around Q3, that's when I start nominations, recruitment, and so on. For the recruitment, I work closely with sales just so they know who am I looking for, right? The criteria is this SVP and above, owners of the IT strategy, hopefully searching for some diversity, right? Having more women's at the CAB and so on. And again, from all the members, right now they're 30, I do not exit all of them, right? I only do 25 to 30% of them that I rotate off because they haven't attended, they don't see a value of it, right? They don't have time for it. So I need that space for somebody that really wants to be part of the CAB. But I still have to keep the others that are the advocates for the program, and they're going to help me onboard that new member, right? It's not me saying like, oh, this is how you have to behave. It's like looking at the other members that have been there for years and seeing, oh, this is the feedback, how we want it to be done, and so on. And then again, we get the final list from sales. I verify with my general manager, and then that's it. The formal invitations go out and we start planning the experience. And again, for the formal invitations, you can send it to customers, but sometimes they don't have the time, so you can get declines, and that's okay. You want members that are actively going to participate in your program. And with that, I mean, it is super important that your team knows about these facts, right? So that way they can know what your program is all about, right? And that not all customer meetings are CABs, right? There's a difference. The others could be customer roundtables, whatever we want to call them, right? But for a CAB, there's a process, and the members, expect something from us. So just want to make sure that you do that with your teams, because I'm currently going through that process right now. And now we get to the CAB, right? So this is your advisory board, your council, your group of selected customers, right? For us, this is our main objective, right? It's for the Citrix leadership team to have a forum where they can gather customer insights. And again, for the members, all the benefits that they're going to get is hearing confidential information from us, our roadmap, our strategy, having time to interact with our executives before, during, and even after the meeting, right? Having that email, that phone number that they can just call in. And as well as creating that networking opportunities for them with other leaders that are there from different companies. These are the companies that are representing our 2022-2023 Citrix CAB. So we try to have different verticals in order to have different opinions and so on. And again, here's where you can decide if you want your CAB to be vertical focused, product focused, service focused, or if you want to have it like us, that it's a group of different people. And again, you can decide, and your CAB can evolve, right? I mean, this CAB was established in 1998, right? But it was more technical focused. Now with the years, now we're looking for the IT people that have a say on the IT strategy. In-person versus virtual, right? We normally, I said, our meetings are Q1 and Q4, and in between we would have options for webinars, short webinars of an hour, or any tech previews. Due to the pandemic, of course, that changed. So between March 2020 and June 2022, I had to do around 12 virtual meetings. So I have experience in both. So I'll say what I've learned from both, so that way you can decide what's better for you moving forward. For the in-person, again, it's 2 days and a half. The average attendees at my meetings is 12 members. And the items to consider, again, are the flights arrival, transportation, souvenirs, prep meetings, dietary restriction, and so on, right? For the virtual one that we had to do, the longest one that we were able to do was 3 hours. Again, because of the different time zones, we cannot make them longer, right? So for the main two big ones that we had 20 members in attendance. So We get more attendees, but again, the level of interaction is less, right? The items to consider, again, is prep meetings as well, but the platform you're going to use, how are you going to interact with your members, right? Is it by chat, by raising their hand, and so on? How are you going to stay in communication with your team internally? Just making sure who's going to address that question. Are you going to go? Am I going to go? And again, just prepping. So both of them are possible. And if you need examples, right, this is what we've done in the past. But for in-person, we've done wine blending where, customers can create their own wine and create the label making on it. We have taken them to the Miami Marlins game where we did personalized jerseys for them and they get to meet baseball legend. We have taken them to the Wine and Food Festival at Epcot. Last week, we went to the Cave for Behringer in Napa Valley. And my favorite so far has been having a dinner at the London Tower Bridge. I don't even know you can rent that, so you can. And then virtually, we've done mixology classes with Woodford Reserve, wine tasting with Silver Oak. And the last one we did was with our innovation partner, Red Bull Racing, where they show us, their facilities in England. They took us to their office and just showing, the trophies at the entrance and sharing with us how they implemented, the technology from the drawing board to the track. So it was really, really interesting. And again, it's up to you. My preference still is in person, just because I can act faster, if a topic is not being well received or the member is taking over the entire meeting, right? So, and again, after being 2 years only virtual, I think everybody was happy to go back last October, just be in person and saying hi. But again, you have the options for both of them. And that brings me to the importance about CABs, right? So I feel like with all the changes happening in our companies all the time, especially in the tech industry at this moment, it is extremely important to showcase those programs that create connection with our customers, right? CAB being one of them. I am now part of the product marketing team at Citrix, but this used to sit under corporate marketing. And from many programs that we have around executive engagement, we're talking about sponsorships, reference, PR, some briefing centers, CAB is one of the programs that survive, right? And I think it's because it's all of the way that we position it. For people that don't know about CABs, it's just another meeting for them, right? But when we start explaining how this program can be evolved into something else, then they start listening. And for me, it's a mix of all these things that I'm showing right now, right? It's about having that trusted partnership that the customers know that what they're saying, we're hearing about it and that we're going to do something about it. And if they have an issue, they can pick up the phone or email us and we will reply back. Right? I mean, sometimes they need a marketing slide that the account manager cannot get them, and they reach out to me, right? And I might not know the answer, but I'll find the way, right? That's what we just need to be there for them. And this starts the commitment from day one that we meet them. I tell my executives, I mean, at that meeting, members are attending your CAB instead of the competitor. So it's extremely important for us to show that this is a beneficial meeting for all of us. Everybody's busy, but while we're there, please be there present. And again, it's about exchanging ideas, right? If we have big company updates, right, share them with them instead of them hearing it from somebody else. If you have a big keynote, this is the perfect audience for you to test that because they're going to be completely honest if it will work or it would not work, and you can shift as necessary. And again, for my meetings, I do a pre-survey asking them, like, what are your current challenges, your obstacle, topics that you would like to discuss? So that way, hopefully, I can incorporate some of them into the agenda and they can see that we're building it together. It's the listen and learn, right? My speakers, I always tell them it's 80-20. So only 20% were presenting and 80% were listening. So it was really helpful when we brought Gavin and Catherine Gibson from Ignite, because people love their slides, right? I mean, I've seen 100 slides and so on. But when you go to the session leaders and tell them, you cannot talk for 50 minutes and then leave Q&A at the end, right? We need to be interacting with them in between, making sure that the content we're presenting with them is resonating with them or not. Should we forget about the slides and then talk what they want to talk, right? So again, it's listening what they want to hear from us. And it's empowering our members, right? It's giving them the opportunity to be in front of other leaders, right? I mean, you're talking about that they are presenting to companies in South America, Mexico. So it's important for them to have those additional networking opportunities with our executives, but also with the other leaders in attendance. And it's also empowering them by providing them anything that they need, right? Again, they're the advocates for our company at their respective company. So if they need something from us, make sure you get it to them. And again, it's also supporting sales, right? I mean, I do not invite sales to my meeting because it's a conversation. It's not about selling, but I do hope that by having their customers at my cab, it would benefit them at the end, and that some opportunities are being closed because of that. And you can see some quote here of some account managers, but the biggest example for me was when a cab member, right, he was changing to another company, but he knew that they still had Citrix solutions there, and he reached out to the account manager saying, I want to be part of the cab. Right. So is that longevity that they want to be part of this? And maybe the account manager didn't know what this program was all about, but he knew that the customer wanted to be part of this. And again, it's about creating an experience. I go back to that the customers can attend many other meetings. So why are they there? What do we want them to experience while they're with us, right? That's the question that I position myself, and not so being so much depending on the opportunities that sales have with them, but making sure that they want to come back, right? That's key for me, that they want to take that picture that I make them take every day on day one, right? That it's not mandatory. It's like they say, like, I need the justification to get to this cab meeting, because again, I do not pay for their flights. And if you need some ideas, right, these are some things that we've done in the past that they have worked. And again, it's from feedback from the members. It's having more activities during the meeting or even virtually by using Miro boards, right? It's inviting them to any internal fairs. Like, they really like to go to the tech fair that we have with our engineer team, where they present their brainstorming and ideas and tech previews and so on. Have your reception dinner at a unique place that they are going to remember, and they're going to go back to their colleagues like, oh my God, I was just at the London Tower Bridge, right? And demo as much as you can. They really like demos. If you do it at your briefing center or at a venue, they really like to see that. And we've also done it, include the cab the same week as another conference, so that way they can plan a big week and have different events that week. So going back to the slide again, I think that pay attention to your details and create an agenda that you would like to attend to, right? And I do think that it's hard for cab members for cab to show the metrics, right? Because we have hard metrics and soft metrics, right? We need to help sales. We need to create that experience. We need to create that partnership with our executives. So it is hard. So I'm hopefully going to hear from the other speakers today on what they're doing around metrics. But I do feel like having this in mind will help you, create a cab that you're going to benefit from it, right? And again, the most important thing for your cab is your members, right? If without the members, you don't have a cab. So for each meeting, I create a briefing document that includes everybody's information. They can contact them beforehand, or I can contact them for them, whatever they need, right? And from the current 30 members, I'll say that I have a personal relationship, let's say with half of them, that, they get on the phone, they send me pictures, they tell me if they're doing something on the side, a picture, a photography website, if they're building a new home, and so on, right? And that's when I remember one of my favorite TV shows, right? The Office, right? Where Michael Scott has this Rolodex where he has important information about customers and it's color coded. and another employee steals it to get the intel, but it doesn't work out for him because he doesn't know the color coding, right? And again, not that I'm trying to steal, right? But this is what I try to do with my members. I remember important things that are for them: hobbies, pets, kids, sports, anything that I can bring to the conversation, right? Because again, I know I'm not the technologist specialist, the techie person, but I have good memory, right? So this is the connection that I'll create with them. And so that way, virtually, it has been extremely important for me to have those minutes, right, of asking them, share your latest movie, TV show, podcast, anything you want to share with the team, because that way we can relate with them. And I even did it at the last meeting in Napa Valley. During our intros, I said, name, team, and say the latest show or the book you're reading, something that they can relate to each other, because during networking, you don't know who has interacted with who. So we can all start on the same page, right? And that's when I get to know them, right? So that's the important thing, is like, I need to know them so that way I can empower them with opportunities, right? With interview opportunities, with video opportunities, talking to the press, to our employees, to our board, right? And again, this is not going to be created in 3 months, right? It's going to take time to build that trust. But after you have built it, I mean, they're going to be waiting for you to bring more opportunities for them. And it's going to be just an unparalleled partnership. So again, I reach out to the CAB members because they know that I'm presenting. And so they've been super supportive. And I just asked 5 of them, like, why do you like attending, my CAB meetings, right? And here are just some quotes for him, is again, the opportunity to speak in front of leaders, having a say on something that's going on the product, and then seeing it come to life, right? That their influence on that change. Having, seeing that Citrix is really listening to me, having that connection with our executives. Herb was a great example because he was totally against cloud. And after attending, 2 meetings, one of the biggest cloud customers. But again, I'm not saying that CAB did that, but I'm saying that it did help. Those conversations, by not making it, selling it, it's by hearing it from other members in healthcare that, hey, it works and we can do it. That's what helped her. And then again, Mervin in South Africa, he mentions like just learning from leaders around the world and seeing that they all share kind of the same issues, the same challenges, and that they can, talk to each other and just say how they're tackling a problem. And for Jose, he says that sometimes he's harsh with us, but it's because he's representing our company and he wants to help us make sure that we're still their #1 vendor. And hopefully that will benefit, other teams as well. And again, they didn't say my company makes me. Maybe they didn't say that to me, right? But it was more on that personal aspect, like that they want to be there because they don't want to miss it out, right? And I think it all goes back to experience does matter. And that's something that I'll repeat and repeat again. Like, it's the day one, from the moment, is the content we create, yes, but it's the day one when we see them at the networking, remembering, their flight information, their dietary restriction, anything. Just you remember when people remember things about you and you have a good experience. That's what I want to create for them, right? And at the end of each meeting, I always do a short survey just to see what do they want to improve for the next meeting, right? What was the main topic that they like? What was something that they will change? And I take it into consideration. I mean, with feedback from the CAB members, I have decreased the people in attendance from the Citrix size because they mentioned they felt like an audience. I've been changing the location, right? Hopefully not only to the US. Before pandemic, we went to London, so hopefully we can travel more to Europe, so that way we can show our CAB members that we are committed going to them. And then again, adding more demos, adding more team activities, and so on. So again, the insights that the CAB members share with you are extremely valuable. So I'll make sure the survey, the meeting reports that Ignite creates for us at the end with all the themes that were discussed, I make sure that I share that internally as well as externally, right? I share with the CAB members that were not in attendance because I do not record my meetings, but that's the way that we can all be on the same page. And it goes back to your team, right? Make sure that you're able to provide updates or that you're ready to share the latest about the action that were discussed and the main themes that were discussed at the meeting. So again, my final advice is for you to engage with your community. Again, this is the perfect instance, and exchange ideas, right? You will learn from them. And then listen and learn from your customers. I mean, I think you have this opportunity to create an experience for them and for you. And I know many aspects of our job can be automated, but others shouldn't, right? For me, this is what I like about my job, is to create innovative ways to making sure that the customers want to be back at the meeting, and that I get to meet people from around the world, and it is my job to create that connection with them, while also telling my team, right, that creating those partnerships with customers is extremely valuable at any level that they are. And like Simon Sinek says, working something that we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love, it's called passion. So professionally, this is where I think I'm at my best. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening to me. And hopefully we have some time for Q&A, Gavin. You let me know.
Yeah, we certainly do. And thank you very much. That was awesome. I mean, you really brought it to life, the concept of what a cab is, by showing the pictures of the people interacting, and also the work you're doing to turn these folks into real advocates from all this activity. So thank you for really bringing it to life, especially for the folks that are relatively new to customer advisory boards. You really did give them a taste of what it's all about. So that was a great introduction to the topic, and tips for experienced folks as well. We do have a few questions here. One of the interesting questions is, what's the distinction between a CAB versus a roundtable or a customer event conference?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so that's a good one, because that's what I'm positioning with my team right now. I mean, the CAB, it's a membership, right? So I mean, just again, my membership goes for a year round, so they know kind of the members that are in that CAB, right? So if I tell them it's 30, Gavin and Melanie included, right? They know that, oh, those are the members. It's not 30 new members every time they meet, right? They're gonna see some of those same people at the meetings. For the customer roundtables, that's when we have external events, or those one-time event that is just more sales driven a little bit, that it's like, hey, what are the top accounts? Let's just ask somebody from over there. They do not have any previous history, with some of those customers. So that's what I'm trying to position, that roundtables are still good, of course, I'm not saying that, but in in the context of having relationship between the members, that's what the CAB, I think, it's really different and unique, right? That they know the CAB members can reach out to other CAB members and be like, hey, I have a question, and they will have an answer.
Got it. So it's a difference between a program versus a single event, and relationship building versus a one-off interaction.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Cool. Preferred platforms for virtual customer advisory board meetings?
That is tricky, right? But I mean, Zoom has everything that they need. I've used Zoom and GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar. I think both of them do the trick, right? I mean, I just want to make sure that whatever platform you use is what interaction you want with your customers, right? Because I mean, I've had meetings where we did a webinar and where, they couldn't put their camera on. So just make sure that all the limitations you have. If you only have 25 cameras and you're inviting 50 customers, then you're going to have an issue, right? So just making sure the logistics aspect on what platform you're using. But Zoom is a good one. Right now we're using it.
Okay. And a quick question here. Should you elect a chair from the customer advisory board? Should you elect a customer to chair the meeting?
Oh, so like an actual member, like being them, the chair? I mean, that's a good thing. I think it's a good idea. I haven't, mentioned it, I haven't labeled anybody like that, but I do have my own kind of champions, right? So, I mean, at the meeting, I know, from the 12 that were in attendance last week in Napa, I know kind of the 3 that I could be like, hey, Ivan, I'm going to tell you something. Is that okay? So then that way, at least I know from the people that are attending the first time, the people that have attended sometimes, and then the ones that are advocates for the program, that if I need to be, hey, help me out with this customer who's like getting off board, like they could help me. So I do feel like I have some champions.
So yeah, so the chair in a meeting is normally the executive sponsor, which would be, the Citrix executive. and then, but you have a handful of customers that you can approach to say, hey, can you talk about this topic, or there's this question coming up, I really want you to provide input on this project that you're working on. So you've got your kind of your couple of
Yes.
handful of folks that you can always rely on to step up if needed during the meetings.
Exactly. And that's, again, yes, to reiterate on that, the chairman for my meetings is the main stakeholder, right? So right now is the general manager for Citrix. Before it was the CMO. So they need to be present at the meeting. Like, I work with their schedule before I put it on the customer calendars, that they need to be present, right? Because I mean, they're the main face for our program, and that's the main executive that this is important for. So yes, definitely a chairman, like somebody that it's important this meeting for.
Okay. Awesome. So another quick question on virtual. You don't obviously record the in-person. Do you record the in-person events?
I do not.
Oh,
I record the virtual ones. The
you do.
virtual ones I did record, but the in-person I do not record because, again, right now I don't offer the hybrid version, for some people to attend virtually. Some CAP, I know they do that, but right now for me, it's like, if you're there, right? Try to make everything possible to be in person, because it's a different experience, right? Making unmuting and muting, but you're able to do it. But for me, I prefer not to record because everything is under NDA, but that's why I report with the main themes that were discussed and so on. But virtually, I do record them.
Great. Awesome. And last question of the day, for you, how frequently do you meet with your CAB?
With my CAB, so 2 in-person meetings, right? Q1 and Q4. And then in between, I try to do, webinars. So we met in March, 2 weeks ago in Napa. And then April, we're going to have a webinar. I'll see how May, because again, summer gets a little bit tricky with Europeans. They all go out and holiday. But I do try to meet, with them, or send them, opportunities with press or something in between, right? Because we don't want to take so long with not seeing them or even say hi. So I always try to have some in between.
Right. Because you're running a kind of a US and a European branch.
Yes, but right now, yes, exactly. But the members are still one global. So that's why it's tricky with the time zones.
Cool. Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I think a lot of people, based on the comments and the little emojis appearing on the screen, I think people really enjoyed that. So thank you very much, Melanie. That was
Thank
awesome.
you so much, Gavin. Thanks, everyone.
Speak soon. Bye.